It's January 29th, 2018, and this is your scripture reading and devotional for today. Your scripture reading today is Exodus chapters 1 and 2, Mark 5, Psalm 18, 1 through 4, and Proverbs 3, 15 and 16. The devotional today is a clip from the lesson, How to Be the Apple of His Eye.
In Psalm 17 and verse 8, we have one of those phrases in the Bible that are very beautiful, depicting the relationship between God and His people. When David says there, "Keep me as the apple of your eye." Keep me as the apple of your eye. And we use that phrase, apple of my eye, a lot to refer to something that is very precious to us, to refer to something that we look at with great favor, that is very special to us. You know, a lot of times our children, we refer to them as the apple of our eye, or someone that is very special to us, they're the apple of our eye. Well, when David uses that phrase, keep me as the apple of your eye, he's using that in the sense of God's protective favor toward him. It's a phrase that we see used a few times in the Old Testament. The first time is back in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 10. And there, it's also used in reference to God's protection. Of course, the connection to God's protection there is that He's protecting His favored people, the children of Israel. It says there, He found him in a desert land and in the wasteland, a howling wilderness. He encircled him. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. And so, talking about his favor of Israel, his protective care of Israel, he uses that phrase, the apple of his eye. And then we see it again over in Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 2. And there in Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 2, it's used in probably the way that we would more commonly use that. When he says there, I'll begin in Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 1. My son, keep my words and treasure my commands within you. Keep my commands and live, and my law as the apple of your eye. That is, you look on those commands, that law, as something that is very favorable, something that is very special to you, something that is precious. And so he refers to it as the apple of your eye. And so when David says, keep me as the apple of your eye, he's asking for God's attention to him. He's asking for God's care on him at a time of persecution. David was going through trials. He was being persecuted. You see that in verse 10 beginning. He says, they have closed up their fat hearts. With their mouths they speak proudly. They have now surrounded us in our steps. They have set their eyes, crouching down to the earth. As a lion is eager to tear his prey, and like a young lion lurking in secret places. Arise, O Lord, confront him, cast him down. Deliver my life from the wicked with your sword, with your hand from men, O Lord, from men of the world who have their portion in this life, and whose belly you fill with your hidden treasures. They are satisfied with children and leave the rest of their possession for their babes. As for me, I will see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness. And so David was crying out to God, calling to God for His care, for His protection in a time of persecution. And it's in that context that he asks God to keep me as the apple of your eye. Let your favor continue to be toward me. Let your protective care continue to be on me as he makes that petition to remain as the apple of God's eye. And so we can learn a lot from David's petition here, this prayer of David to God for his protection, for his care. We can learn a lot there about being the apple of God's eye. Would any of us not want to be the apple of God's eye? As we think about our relationship to God, don't we want God to count us as one of His special people? Don't we want God to look on us with favor and to have a special favor toward us, to have a protective care of us? Well, certainly we want to have that kind of relationship with God. We want to be in fellowship with God in that way, so that He looks on us with favor and He has His protective care over us. And so what is it that David says in this psalm that shows us how to be the apple of His eye? That is, how to have that special relationship with God.
Be sure to post your thoughts from today's reading in the comment section below.